What's up guys, DK here with Collector's Impact, and today we are going to talk about the original base set of Magic the Gathering, and that consists of Alpha, Beta, and Unlimited. Alright, so now let's go ahead and dive into this. So Alpha, Beta, and Unlimited were essentially the original base set for Magic the Gathering when it premiered in 1993. The set has roughly 302 cards in it, though the Alpha set was actually short printed with 295 cards in it. One of them being pretty prominent as the dual land Volcanic Island was actually left out of the print run, which is crazy, along with a few of the other cards too. I won't name them all, but you guys can look that up if you want to. So it's interesting to note that Alpha is actually 7 cards short of Beta, and then Beta and Unlimited have the same number of cards. In a nutshell, they're supposed to be the same expansion. They're what introduces the world to the world of Dominaria and Magic the Gathering and fighting your wizard opponent and all that kind of fun, nerdy stuff that we love. Before the realm of Planeswalkers, before all that kind of stuff, that's how it all started. And it was very much really bare bones, but also really fun. So it introduced the concept of the 5 colors, so everything is pretty balanced with the colors as well as artifacts and land cards. So what exactly is the difference between Alpha and Beta? Alpha was the first experimental print run, and as such, there were a couple of defects with the cards, or, quote defects, in terms of things that they fixed in the Beta iteration and moving forward, and the main one was the corners of the card. So how you can immediately tell in Alpha, since there's no set symbols or anything like that, is that the round corners. So what you want to do is take a Beta card, or any other card for that matter, from Magic the Gathering's history, since Beta set the template for the size and cut of a card, and you just want to go ahead and put it behind the Alpha card and try to line up the border, and you can see up here that the Alpha's corner is noticeably different from the Beta's corner. You can see both of them at the same time, which is a pretty big indicator. So Alpha's corners are far more rounded. Yeah, that's really the key difference. In terms of the actual saturation and colors and everything of that nature, it's pretty even. But one key thing to note that is the same for both Alpha and Beta that's really important when you're trying to get into the market for the vintage cards of this expansion is that the borders were very different on Alpha and Beta versus everything else in terms of their composition. You can see here that the border of the card is split in half, essentially. Hopefully you can see this pretty well. So up here by the side of it that goes towards the green of the card is actually lighter in color, and you can see a distinct separation between the bottom border that goes towards the edge of the card that's darker in color. And that change in color takes place throughout the entire border of the card. And on most Alpha and Beta cards, they have this white dot in between the two borders on the lower right and left corners. It's not always present on the top corners. It's pretty common that you see it not up there, but for 95 or more % of them, they do have the white dots on the bottom. So that is the same thing with Alpha and Beta. So what you want to look for there is the rounded corners to signify Alpha, the less rounded corners to signify Beta, and the separation between the two border colors and these white dots. That is really your telltale signs between Alpha and Beta. Now when it comes to Unlimited, which was printed right alongside Beta, see Beta is the quote limited edition, and then the white border is Unlimited edition. These are the same saturation as Beta in terms of you see the green, you see the extremely dark vibrancy of the green, plus the font and the overall look and feel of the text and font is the exact same as Beta for the vast majority of the cards. I'm not sure of any differences. There might be 1 or 2 little differences, but in terms of specific cards that might be different, but this is a pretty good indication of an Unlimited versus a Beta. Now, I'm going to make a follow-up video to this that's going to cover revised versus Unlimited and the rest of the white border cards until you get to 6th edition, because they all have pretty big differentiators. But yeah, just for this discussion, Alpha, Beta, and Unlimited, Think of the Unlimited as just a larger print run of Beta, just with a white border. That's really the key difference there. There were also certain cards that were only printed in the very first base set here, which of course is Alpha, Beta, and Unlimited, and that would be the things like this Natural Selection, for example, was only printed in those three iterations of base set. And then there were, of course, the Power 9 cards, which are world famous, the Black Lotus, all 5 Moxes, Ancestral Recall, Time Twister, and Time Walk. Those are only available in Alpha, Beta, and Unlimited. So if you find them in any other expansion with any sort of set symbol, with any sort of variation to the Unlimited printing, if it's lighter in appearance than a standard Unlimited card, if it has different font, that kind of stuff, you got to do your homework and compare the pictures between what you're seeing in your hand versus what's online for Unlimited. You know, if you see any variations in those types of cards, then run for the hills, kind of a thing, because it's very specific that they're only in these 3 expansions. And then, of course, the borders having those distinct differences. If you find any cards that claim to be Beta or Alpha and they have a solid black border that goes all the way around the card, if it doesn't have these differentiators on it and it's just solid black, then chances are it is a fake card, which is the most common way that you can tell right off the bat if a card from Alpha and Beta is real or not. So just keeping that in mind for sure. And the one last thing that I'll go ahead and cover here for Alpha and Beta, or at least for Beta in this circumstance, is the Collector Edition printings of the Beta expansion. So Wizards of the Coast actually released this special edition of Beta. You've got Collector's Edition and International Edition, and you could clearly tell that they have gold borders all the way around and the stamping of what they belong to on the back, whereas a real Alpha or Beta card doesn't have any of that. It has a standard Magic back, looks just like that. Another key difference between the collector's editions is they have squared corners. Now the 2 example cards that I have, you could see somebody cut that corner. They cut the corners to make it look more like a real Beta card or an Alpha card or whatever. And they try to do Beta for this one, but yeah, all of the collector edition cards are supposed to have square corners. So if you find one with cut corners, with corners that are not square, it's been altered and it's not gradable in that circumstance. You can still use it in play if you wanted to in a setting that allows for collector's edition to be used, but yeah, it loses a lot of value and you can't grade it if it's been cut. So that's something to keep in mind too. People often did that to try to pass it off as a real Beta card. Well, it's in a sleeve, so it's not uncommon, or rather it is common to see that out there in the wild. In terms of every other identifier though, the Beta Collector's Edition is the same. It has the same rules that apply for the front side of the card. The differentiated border there, lighter at the top, darker at the bottom, the white dots. And on these, you can see here, there's a white dot there and even a very faint little bit of white up there. Same here, boom, boom, boom. So that's how you can tell there as well. These are genuine collector's edition cards. The last thing that I will just mention here is that, of course, in the original base set here, Alpha, Beta, and Unlimited, there are no set symbols. The very first set that was released that had symbols was Arabian Nights, and the cards had this little scimitar, and then from that point on, all of the expansion sets, which are things outside of the base set, have symbols on them. And Magic kept expanding and changing the, quote, base set for many years into the game's history until they started doing, like, core sets, a core set iteration. So like revised is just the revised version of the base set kind of a thing. That's how it was originally intended. And then you got 4th edition, 5th edition, 6th edition, so on, all the way up until 10th edition. And then all of a sudden they change over to the M, whatever year it was as your core set. So that's kind of the brief history of the evolution of the base set and how it expanded upon throughout the whole history of Magic. You've got Alpha, Beta, and Unlimited, 1st edition, and then revised is technically 3rd edition because Beta and Unlimited are technically 2nd edition. So yeah, 1st edition, 1st edition light, 2nd edition 3rd edition, 4th edition, 5th edition, all the way to 10th edition, and then M10 all the way to now M21, with a few missing sets in between where they did not print a core set for that year. So yeah, just a fun little ramble there, a little bit of Magic history on that. So anyway, guys, that wraps up the video for today. I hope that you found this useful, informative, helpful. If you're in the market for getting some of these old cards and may not know exactly what to look for, you do now. So if you found the video helpful, please do remember to give it a thumbs up, as it greatly helps this channel and the algorithms and all of that kind of stuff. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, please subscribe to the Collector's Impact. Would greatly appreciate that. Thank you very much again for coming and checking out this video, and I hope to see you again next time. Take care.